Let's talk wealth building more specifically. Please don't think like this. It's a very, very dangerous attitude to have. Yes, it's a rational attitude, which makes it such a dangerous trap, but it is not going to be good from a bigger picture perspective. Got this whole idea. I threw out a poll on YouTube and then somebody replied, and just because I appreciated them replying, I thought, I'm going to reply back, but also I want to be honest with them. And I disagreed with what their choice was. And then it created a little bit more of a dialogue, which has revealed this attitude, which again is a rational attitude to have, but it's not a good one when it comes to wealth building. So let's go through it and let's talk about all these key points. So the question on my poll was, I give you 1 million. What do you do? And this person says, create multiple LLCs, open multiple business bank accounts, then leverage that to get business lines of credit. So in other words, they want to take on a bunch of various forms of debt, because that's what a line of credit is. It's a debt, and their whole goal is the multiple LLCs so they can get multiple business bank accounts and then get the multiple lines of credit. So they want to take on multiple debts. So I wanted to give them my opinion. I replied back, yikes, not a fan of building houses of cards. They then replied back, having debt does not automatically make your portfolio a house of cards. Now, yes, it does. Any debt at all is a house of cards. Now, let me be very clear. Is it a massive house of cards? It is not. So I'm not here saying that a mortgage is a bad thing, but a mortgage is a debt. So if you have a mortgage payment, if you have a car payment, those now are two payments that you need to make. So in other words, you have to make a certain amount of money per month, because if you don't and you don't pay those, then your car gets repossessed, your house gets foreclosed on, and your credit gets wrecked, and then you become what's known as a high risk consumer, which means things are just that much more expensive for you. It's something that is a very dangerous situation. Now, again, having a house payment, house of cards, but ideally when you go about it, you're going to be able to make that house payment, right? That one payment of debt. But the more debt you take on, obviously, the more the house of cards becomes, because now you have more obligations. You have to make certain amounts of money in order to pay all those, or else, well, the house of cards begins to crumble. So yes, even one debt is a house of cards. Is it a huge house of cards? I'm not going to say that. But let's think back to what this person was arguing. They want multiple lines of credit. So multiple pieces of debt out there, which is why I disagree. But then they go on and say, and this is the crux of everything, but let's see what their final comment was. And then talking to me, your inability to correctly utilize debt to leverage for other assets shows that you shouldn't speak on things you have no knowledge on. Now, the key word here is correctly. Hey, he's saying I don't have the inability to correctly utilize debt. So that's his argument. Hey, you got to correctly do this stuff. And yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you got to do it correctly, right? That would be the common sense way to go about it. That would be the rational way to go about it. For example, if somebody says, I'm building a house of cards and I'm doing it incorrectly, logic would say, wait, why are you building a house of cards when you know that you're doing it incorrectly? That makes no sense. Right? Nothing complicated there. So yes, the point here is this. Of course, everybody that builds houses of cards thinks that they're utilizing it correctly. They're doing it correctly. By default, assuming you are a rational person, yeah, that's what you think you're doing. But the problem is you're walking a very narrow path, and correctly can become incorrectly very, very quickly. It doesn't take a whole lot for correctly to convert to incorrectly, aka the house of cards, to begin to crumble. And the bigger the house of cards, the more correct you have to do it. In other words, you don't have any wiggle room at all to make errors. Where if you go back to having a mortgage payment, okay, sure, you can have some savings. Sure, you can, you have things in place where if you were to lose your job for a moment, you can still, it's not like the house card collapses because you lose your job. No. If you do things correctly, well, then you have a pretty broad correctly net because you only had that one payment. But when you have multiple payments and you're trying to leverage all these things and you put all these multiple pieces into play as opposed to one piece, such as a mortgage payment, for example, you get the idea. One piece versus multiple pieces, that is something where, yes, of course, can you do that correctly? Can you have multiple pieces correctly? I mean, yes, you can, but the correctly, that's such a narrow path because correctly can convert to incorrectly so quickly. So my point here is this. I get it. And you know, I try to be, okay, but a lot of these people are so arrogant. They're out there and they're leveraging this, leveraging that, doing this and doing that, and they're building houses of cards, and you try to say, that's kind of risky. Well, it's only risky if you don't know what you're doing. Well, everybody thinks they know what they're doing until they find out, oh, I guess I didn't know what they're doing, as their house of cards collapses, right? The 2008 real estate bubble. People got destroyed because they were leveraging and doing all sorts of things. They were at the time, I know what I'm doing. But you know what? What they didn't know is they had the variable of, well, what happens if the market goes down a little bit, right? So yes, they were correct that if the market keeps going up, their strategy works. But if that one variable occurred, they went from correct to being incorrect just like that. So again, please don't, if your justification mechanism for going out and leveraging and taking on all sorts of debts and trying to get fancy with things is, well, this is only risky for those people that don't know what they're doing. That's a very, very poor rationalization mechanism. You're not thinking through things very clearly because you are assuming that you have it all figured out and will continue to have it all figured out. And you're giving yourself basically zero wiggle room within your house of cards. So be very, very careful with that. Again, it's a rational thought process to have, but it's a very weak thought process to have because, I mean, what's the alternative? Again, the alternative is somebody saying, well, I don't know what I'm doing it all incorrectly. Well, then for that person to do it would make them crazy. But of course, everybody thinks that they know what they're doing. Of course, everybody thinks that they're utilizing it correctly. So be very careful of that attitude because it's the exact opposite of how wealth is going to be built. Sure, you think you can be building wealth, but you're taking on all these liabilities and it can spin out of control quickly. And I mean, it's happened multiple times through history. People got destroyed in the dot-com bubble. People got destroyed in the 2008 financial crisis real estate bubble. And I mean, people got destroyed. Think about all those COVID stocks. I mean, you know, people were leveraging their portfolios when all those tech stocks were booming and banging and, oh, I'm going to do this portfolio more. I mean, they were getting all fancy. Well, it's only risky if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, those people did not know what they're doing in hindsight now, as all those stocks have crashed down as the most recent example. So yes, I get it. You think you know what you're doing. You think you're utilizing it correctly, but everybody thinks they're doing it until they realize that, oh, I wasn't doing it correctly. But by that point, it's too late. So careful with this house of cards and thinking all through that, you know, the way this person clearly is. But hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I can just make you rethink things a little bit. And if I did that, then good, mission accomplished on my part. If you enjoy these, if you want to make more videos like this, more not necessarily about trading and investing, but it's just about general personal finance and wealth building, then definitely let me know in the comment section. Hit that like button. Thanks for watching. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.